Good morning. Hello. Oops. So today in the studio, I'm going to be working on this baby quilt. I want to say hi to everybody. But I'm going to be working on this baby quilt today. It is a panel quilt. So that's just a little bit different. I'm going to be doing some outlining. I have already done some pre-marking on this quilt as well. And I was just informed that the mother of this baby receiving this blanket has actually gone into labor. So that's entertaining. So it's time to get this quilt done. This was made by Brenda, and she's a really good client of mine. So let's go stitch. Turn this around. The studio. Get set up here. All right, so if you can see here, I've actually done some pre-marking already on the quilt. I'm going to be doing feathers around the outside here, and these are just your normal bump back feathers. But because I'm going to be traveling, morning from Armstrong. Hello from Armstrong and Texas, holy moly. Marble Falls, Texas. Hi guys. I can't really read a lot of the comments. They kind of pop up and disappear right away. So if I catch it, I catch it. So sorry. So anyways, I'm going to be traveling around the quilt with these bump back feathers. So in order to match the feather back up to itself when I come full circle, I've drawn in some ghost ones so that as I come around, I can start to line it up so I can connect the feather to itself. I've also marked 3/4 of an inch away from the edge of the quilt so that when this quilt gets squared up or bound, we're not going to be cutting off my beautiful feather. So that's where we're at. And I guess I'm ready to go. Both my kids are still at home this morning, which is a little odd as well. Oh, I want to move over. Both my kids are home this morning as well. So if we hear any weird noises, that's them. I'm just going to move inside here. All right. So I'm going to try and keep the density of this quilt fairly light. You know, it is a baby quilt. It's got a really nice flannel backing, which is cozy, especially up here. So I'm just keeping these nice and open. When I get to the corner here, I'm going to be landing my feather right here and just filling up this corner area with this feather. Feathers are definitely one of those designs that quilters all strive to perfect. But the interesting thing about feathers is that it's kind of like handwriting. Everybody's looks a little bit different, and that's okay. It kind of reminds me a little bit of swirls. If you were here the other week, I think I talked about how we all hate our swirls. So your feathers probably aren't as bad as you might think they are. And another thing to think about when you're doing feathers is that this is free motion quilting. It's not computer driven. Like, the feathers are going to be slightly different sizes. Some of them are going to curve a little nicer than others, or be a little fatter or a little thinner, and that's okay. It still looks beautiful and organic, and that's the way it's supposed to look, in my opinion. I am using a matching blue thread in this area. And the thread that I'm using is Glide, and this is a 40 weight. I can't remember the name of the color, it's blue. I'm also using Glide 48 in my bobbin case as well. And I'm actually using white in the bobbin case. Most people always ask me whether or not I've got a different color, or they notice that I am using a different color. And I kind of just stick with Glide 40 weight for the most part of my quilt. Sometimes I'll change it up to a 60 weight for special reasons, but for the most part I just use the 40. And so everything is really well calibrated. You know, I keep track of, or I watch my tension, of course, but I just don't mess with it very often, so I don't worry about it. I'm going to fill up this corner with a couple feathers and coming around. I'm always watching this little blue line of mine, so I like to mark this blue line because, you know, sometimes I kind of get into the zone, especially if I'm going to be talking and quilting. If I wasn't talking this through today, I don't know if I would have marked that. I probably wouldn't have needed to. And to come around this corner, I'm also watching right here where I've stopped because I'm floating my quilt top. So I'm watching this to make sure, because if I tried to put another feather in here, I would have done that whole bump issue, which is a pain in the butt. So now I'm going to, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Hold on. Yeah, I'm just going to change my thread color. I was going to just roll it up and then change my thread color, but it's fine. It's not a big deal. I'm just going to change my thread color to the white. Change my thread. I'm just going to snip this off. This was color light turquoise. And I'm going to get my white here. So this is just Glide White regular. And I'm going to take the two ends of this thread and I'm just going to tie just a real simple bow knot in here. Pull that tight. And I'm going to take my tail end that's gone through my needle and I'm going to pull right here until that knot comes through. There's the knot right there. And I'm just going to angle it and pull it through the eye of the needle and snip. That didn't take very long. Diagonal lines with a ruler, lots of thread breakage. Okay, so if you're having issues with going diagonal with a ruler, chances are you're heading right to left, and you're probably going up. I'm actually having this issue right now as well because my machine needs to be retimed. I'm pretty positive, so that's actually one reason I'm going to come over here and I'm going to stitch up and to the right because my machine is definitely breaking thread a little bit more often than it should be. And in my experience, that begins to happen when I need a service for my machine. My machine's being used an awful lot right now, so I'm just paying attention to it and being aware of it. But yeah, if you're having that trouble, I would definitely think about getting your machine serviced. Okay, so it's a little dark here. I'm so sorry. I have to turn the light on so I can see because I am stitching in the ditch right now. I really like to stitch in the ditch. I mean, this is a custom quilt, and so it's going to get the custom treatment, which is stitch in the ditch. Even though I am keeping this quilt to a lighter density, I still think it's worth stitching this in the ditch. Now, I'm not going to be stitching all these lines in the ditch. I'm going to be just doing some curved ruler work there. But this one is an important one to stitch in the ditch, I think. This is my favorite ruler for ditch work and for most straight edge work. This is the Rocket Ruler by Silly Moon Quilt Company. Now, Kelly at Silly Moon Quilt Company has actually sent me a package with some other rulers to try of hers. I haven't opened it up yet because I really want to film a video about it. but it is eating me alive not opening it up. But I just haven't had the time to open it yet. Okay, travel down the edge here. And I'm just going to travel until I hit, there we go. Okay. Now, I'm going to break thread again. Now, before I went online this morning, I did pick out a couple curved rulers to work because we've got some different size shapes here, or different size piecework. So I picked out 3 rulers to work on these shapes today. I picked out this 2-inch circle. I don't have any links to any of this stuff. I'll try and put them in, you know, when I re-upload this video, but this is a 2-inch circle. This is a 4-inch circle, and then I also picked out the BFF from the Quilted Pineapple to work within these shapes today. I don't normally use a lot of swag rulers, but I do definitely use my Quilted Pineapple rulers a ton. And then, so yeah, as I was saying, I'm just going to be doing some curved ruler work in here. So this is a continuous curve. I like to use a ruler for my continuous curve. I just think it looks nicer. I can do it without it, and I have done in the past a lot, but I just love how ruler work looks. And there's not that much of it, so I figured, why not? Just use the ruler for it. If it was like a big quilt that was maybe a little more scrappy, I would just do this freehand, but because it's not, I might as well just use my little ruler here this morning. I think it's kind of harder for a computer to do this anyways. Just gonna snip this off so I don't catch it. I do a stay stitch every time I start and stop. I haven't had any issues with my quilting coming out. So, and I do so much custom quilting, I don't bury threads. Talk about taking up a ton of time. That would take so long. So long. I mean, if I was working on maybe like a big show quilt or something, I would do it. I did it on my own personal sort of showpiece. But on usual quilts, I'll just usually do a stay stitch and a snip. Using this tiny little ruler to do this kind of work is definitely something that takes quite a lot of practice. And I would encourage somebody to use or do this if you're wanting to try this for the first time. I would encourage you to do it on a larger scale first. Using this tiny little ruler can be a little dangerous, you know, because it can flip up so easy like this, and then it's over your foot, and now you're stitching through it, and stuff's flying everywhere, and that's no fun. So if you're going to do continuous curve with a ruler for the first time, maybe give it a shot with something a little larger, something a little more that you have a little bit better grip on. There we go. And I think that looks quite good. I am going to ditch each block though, just because I think it'll allow me to travel around a little bit. And up to here. And over to here. So this position's a little bit awkward because this ruler's not quite big enough to use the inside curve to do that. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Maybe I'll switch to a larger ruler actually. But I do like the kind of depth of this curve here. I think that's quite good. This is an awkward position. So I'm just going to I'm standing in front of the machine here while I'm adjusting this ruler, just so I can make sure that I'm going to land in the right spot. Then I'm stepping off to the side here so I can see where I'm going. Did I make it? Oh yeah. Nailed it. Now this area, it's actually not bad. I think I'm going to leave that. I always judge with my fist, you know, I don't want to leave a space that's any bigger than my fist. And that is just the size of my fist, so I think it's going to be just fine. If you were here at the beginning and saw the picture, or saw the picture of the quilt that I'm doing, it's a panel quilt, and it's an ABC panel quilt with a bunch of cute little adorable animals on it. So I'm actually going to be like outlining all those animals and stuff. So I'll be leaving some open spaces throughout the quilts. That's okay. Funny, and then I'll use this ruler. I did do some planning before coming into this today. So I kind of know what I'm doing. Like, I might change my mind a little bit on the fly here, but not too much. The way that Brenda did the piecework here, I feel like the blocks are standing on their own anyhow. So just adding a little bit of continuous curve to each one, I think is just a reasonable amount of quilting. I don't know if I'm going to finish this quilt online today. Hopefully I will, but I definitely want to get it done today. Like I said at the beginning of the video here, the baby who's going to be receiving this quilt is on its way. So that's exciting. It might even actually already be here. Brenda told me last night that the mom was in labor. I don't know her though. And back to the little mini. I don't know. This might be a little boring to some people. I hope it's not. But if you got somewhere to be, come back at the end or come check out the replay after, if you wanted to see the completed piece. I'm actually fairly surprised how quiet my kids are being. I mean, I did yell at them first. Well, I discussed with them that I was going to be live. My youngest daughter has a spare this morning, so she hasn't left for school quite yet. She's 18 and my last graduate. Pretty excited. She's hoping to go to university here in the fall. And then I've got another daughter who is a year older than she is, so she's 19. And she doesn't work till a little later in the day. She's taking off for Peru here in May for, I don't know, she's going to go work on a farm in the jungle or something. Sounds pretty exciting. So she's off to Peru. So we might be empty nesters for a while. It's kind of interesting to me. All right, coming up. That is a lot of curves. I really like how this looks. Now, some people don't like it, and it's kind of a little bit of a contradictory statement here, but I don't usually like to stitch in the ditch here. I like to leave these ones open. I think it really gives it kind of that dimension. I mean, it would look fine stitched in the ditch as well, but I kind of like the look and feel of this continuous curve in here. All right, so let's continue on. Stitching along here. Now this is the center of the border. I'm going to be doing a pebble chain along here, or pearl chain along here, but in this area I decided to just kind of stick with some of the traditional designs that I have chosen, and I'm just going to do a simple ribbon candy up here. It's nice and open, and I think complements the other quilting designs really well. And that's why I plan so much of my quilting, is so that I can have, you know, a real cohesive design. I've got a mini course that talks about my design process, but it's a course that I filmed quite a while ago, and I really want to update it and relaunch it with all I've learned about video editing, and speaking on camera is one of the first things I did. You know, it takes a little bit of practice to get good at talking to yourself in the camera. Computers are definitely not something that's come natural to me. I grew up in the bush and on a farm that we never had any computers or anything, so it's been pretty entertaining, the types of swear words that I've come up with while learning computers. So yeah, clearly using a ruler to do this kind of work takes probably twice as long. But again, because of the visibility of the quilting, I am really happy with how this is turning out already. In the middle of the quilt, like in the body, I'm going to be doing a stipple design, so that'll go a little bit quicker. But I mean, custom quilting, that's what it's about. It's about taking the time. It's about being custom and, you know, hitting all these points exactly, and adding that flair that complements the quilting so much. Oh, I missed that one a little bit, but that's okay. You see, I missed it just a tiny, tiny bit. I don't know if you can see it. That's fine. It's so minor that it's okay. I'm not a robot either. Not a robot. All right. Here we go. Here. All right, there's a different one here. Let's see. Okay, that kind of annoys me that I can't go in here. Maybe I'll use this one. No, this one's too small. I'm just going to see what else I have for a ruler. Okay, so this is the Quilted Pineapple 8. Yeah, see, that's going to fit a lot nicer. And that way I'll be able to swap the ruler around. I'm definitely going to go with this. And that's okay. I can change the angle of these because I'm not being consistent with them. Like, it's not the end of the world changing. So I'm not super following the piecework. Oh, I can't find which ruler I'm using. I'm not super following the piecework for each one, but some of them, like this sort of arrow shape, I'm going to follow the shape of it just for funsies. I mean, this quilt is super fun and childish and might as well be whimsical along with it, right? That was my thoughts anyhow. Oh, I sure do like having a whole bunch of rulers laying around, though. It took me a long time to invest in them, though. Because rulers are pretty expensive, so everybody probably knows that. All right, this is not a sales pitch, but I do have a 10% off for the Cinnamon Quilt Company rulers. If you use code QUILTINGCURVE, you can get 10% off there. Well, that's just because we're buddies. right, back to this guy. And I did I like this one? No, I used this other one for this guy. That's okay. I'm going back. I'm not going to use that one. I like this one better. I think it's just so much nicer to have this inside curve like this. Using the inside curve of these rulers definitely takes a little bit of practice, but man, does it make your life easier. Holy. Yeah. See, because I would have to go to this side in order to do that, which isn't too shabby, but I can just keep on this side here and just carry on, which makes more sense to me. There we go. Fast. I've got so many rulers, I just dropped another one. It's fine. Everything's fine. All right, coming to the end here. And another little one. A lot of 9 patches in this area. What's the weather today? The weather today is cloudy, overcast. Cloudy, overcast day, which is a perfect day to quilt, because then I don't feel bad about not being outside in the sunshine. I've got quite a few windows in my studio, so when the sun comes out, I get a little anxious, because I feel like I need to be outside. Especially in the springtime right now. I mean, I don't know if that's a northern thing, a Canadian thing, I don't know, but as soon as that sun comes out, I get super anxious. Like I'm missing out on something and I need to get out there as soon as possible. So I actually plan my YouTube videos so that I don't have to spend too much time inside in the summertime. Even my guild actually shuts down in the summertime so we can all get outside. I'm not sure if that's common or not. But it's definitely warming up here. We can feel the springtime. It's coming. Now, my parents, they still live up in northern British Columbia, Canada, and my mom's got like 3 feet of snow still. I like to make fun of her. She doesn't appreciate it very much, though. All right, so there we are. I've done this first row, and you can see right here, I'm not going to be able to finish this block, so I'm going to roll the quilt now. So it's take me a second just to undo all my clamps. And roll it up. I'm working on a handy quilter Avante. So it's actually a pretty small machine. There, that's about right there. And with my ruler plate on, I only have about 15 inches of workable space. But as you can tell, I mean, you can still do an awful lot with just a little bit. Okay, so there we go. I guess I could have taken this out. So I've got to baste my quilt first. Okay. So I'm just going to straighten and smooth everything out, my whole quilt top. Make sure my batting's in the right position. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to stitch up towards the other edge here. I find that just helps to keep the quilt square as opposed to, you know, constantly pulling down and out. You know, if you start at the bottom and go up, you're able to keep it more square. I do have a center tape. I just don't have it on my machine right now. And I also always use my ruler to stitch, to base my quilts. And the reason I use a ruler is because I stitched through my finger once, and that was a terrible day. Like, it was a real bad day. There was nobody home, stitched right through my finger. Oh, I had to pull the thread through. Ugh. I won't talk about it anymore, I'm sorry. But if you've stitched through your finger, you know, go off in the comments, let me know, because that's a special club. I don't really need this thing here. Okay, I'm going to go to the other side now. See, here's this. I'm going to be stitching around all of these things in this panel. Okay, and the other side. And also what I'm going to be doing over here is I'm actually going to baste this blue border here, because I'm going to be having my feather come up and around because it's traveling around the quilt. So I'm just going to baste this, and I'll be coming back to stitch that at the end. And I have to baste it because my machine is so small. Like, you can kind of, well, you'll see in a sec here. I'll point it out. Travel up the edge here. You can see I've got these tiny little bars. Like, look at that. I can wrap my fingers all the way around it. So because I've got these tiny bars on this machine, I find that I get a lot more bunching and stuff because rolling on the smaller bars. So I have to do a lot more basting than maybe somebody with a larger bar machine would. Now, I do actually have a larger machine. I just like to use this one more. It's lighter and it's lower, and I just like it better. So, all right. What is my next step here? I think what I'm going to do, I've got the white thread in right now. Oh, I was going to baste, right. I do have the white thread in right now, so I'm just going to carry on with all the white stuff and come back and do some more of this border in a bit. Now I'm going to just pin baste this. So basically I'm just going to take my pins and put them in there. And I'm making sure that when I put my pins in that I'm keeping them parallel with the bar. You know, I don't want to be putting pins in, you know, down like this, because then they're going to get bent and or potentially rip the quilt. So always make sure to keep my pins horizontal. I use this technique a lot. I do this quite often. Okay, so let's see. First things first. When I do plan out my quilts, I don't spend a lot of time on stitch path. I find it easier just to core out where I can quilt. It doesn't take any time to break thread. And what's the point? I mean, I always find the best thread path right at the end of the quilt anyways. Sorry about that brightness, but I'm just going to stitch this in the ditch. And I want to be able to see where I'm going. You can look at all the rulers I got on here. Jeez. Oh, who has so many rulers on their quilt sometimes? Sometimes I have so many. It's ridiculous. I'm just going along this edge one more time because some of them I did stitch in the ditch and some of them I did not. So I'm just going to go along here. And that's okay. That's not a ton of thread buildup. I know that. How convenient. All right. It's going to take us a minute to get to the middle here. All right. Boy, I like this ruler. I use this 2-inch ruler a ton. Like, I use it all the time. I think it's because, most likely, I think this is probably a 2.5-inch square. So this ruler fits in there so well, and I've used it so much over the years to do this kind of work. Now, this particular blue ruler is no longer being made by this company, but I do know that, oh goodness, the quilt industry, no, the Quilt University or something like that, Quilters League, perhaps. I will put the link after I finish the live. I'll go back and add the link to the description, but it's the Quilters League or something like that, has some that are almost identical to these. They probably are identical. I think they're just a different color. But I do use them a lot. One ruler I haven't used that I kind of really want to give a try are the Natalia Bonner swag rulers. I can't, oh goodness, my brain is obviously shot this morning, but the new Natalia Bonner ones, you know, the ones that kind of go like, that have the S curve to them, I kind of want to give those a shot. I feel like Natalia and I have a fairly similar style, and that just really appeals to me. So I'm just going to go around this guy. And all right, and I think this one again, yeah. I haven't done a windmill block in a little while. Stitched one, I meant, or like piece one. I actually don't do a ton of piecing anymore. I've been trying to do more, but I end up just quilting instead. I got into long arm quilting just because I actually genuinely like this aspect of it the best. Like, before I had even a long arm machine, I was actually stitching for other people on my domestic machine because that's how much I enjoyed it. Swing rulers, okay, are awesome. You have to similar style. You absolutely, oh, okay, it disappeared. I was just reading that comment there. Oh, thank you. I totally like her style. It's very, very cool. And she's definitely inspired me a lot in my journey, without a doubt. Okay, so as I was saying earlier on in the live here, that my machine has been being a bit of a disagreeable person. My machine's been disagreeable as of late, and I'm pretty sure it's because it needs a service, which, you know, everybody has time for. I also don't have a service person anywhere near me. So I am taking more time in stitching from the left to the right, because I'm having most of my issues going from right to left. So that's why I've broken thread and come all the way back here, and will be doing so. Sometimes, like, as you're learning too, it's nice to just go one direction, you know, whatever works best for you. So, like, don't ever feel bad that you can't stitch one direction or another, or you stitch better going one way or another. I don't think that's a very big deal. I know it's a little harder to see when I got this light on, but it's easier for me to hit my ditches. I'm trying not to rush. Not in a rush at all. I've got all day to stitch this out. But I don't know how long the camera is going to last for. All right. So I'm breaking thread one more time here. And moving over to the end. Now, I just noticed I should probably put some marks in. So in this border, I'm going to be doing a purl chain, kind of to echo what's happening here. And I'm just going to mark myself a registration circle and maybe one or two just coming up here. Just so that, like, they're not perfect, but just so I have kind of an idea of like maybe the spacing I want to do. That's not to say I'm going to nail it. I might not, but we're going to give her a good go. Again, I am free motion quilting here. So I'm going to have to forgive myself a little bit. And there we go. Sometimes it takes a second to really get in the groove of a purl chain, especially to this larger degree. If you're going to try a purl chain, I would definitely try it on a smaller scale first. Oh, look at that. Nice. See, these registration circles just really help me kind of visualize my spacing a little bit better as I'm coming up to something. So as I get closer to the other side, I'll add those in as well. I do talk a lot about marking and how to mark and where to mark and when to mark on my online modern quilting with rulers course. The link is in the description. I also talk a lot about measuring for structured borders. I mean, the whole course is all about quilting with rulers and how to build structured borders. It's kind of, I haven't actually counted how many ideas are in it, but I know there's well over 100. There's hundreds, without a doubt, of ideas in that course. I also get access to our private Facebook group. It's relatively active. I post in there fairly often, just more like, you know, what I'm working on today, because most of the stuff, other than what I'm doing today, like this live, most of the stuff you see on YouTube is actually stuff that I've filmed almost like quite a while ago. You know, it takes a long time to film and edit and, you know, beat your computer up so it works right. See, now, if you look at my circles, like from your point of view on the cameras, because I'm looking through the screen here, they look perfect. They look pretty darn good. But the reality is they're not perfect. They aren't. But nobody can tell once they're put into a chain like this. If you were to isolate each one of them, they're not perfect. But when you put them in this kind of a setting, I feel like they look awesome. Okay, I'm just going to get my pen. So you can see the corner now, and I'm going to put my circle in here and add in a couple rows. See, there we go. That'll probably work. This one just a little less fat. Nope, didn't quite work. That's okay. I'm still going to get there. Make that one a little bit smaller. Nobody will know. Okay, so I'm just, oh, I can't quite see. I'm just taking note of where my ending is so I can pay attention. Don't stitch too far. Right there. Okay, he's getting dizzy. One more. Nice. Okay. Actually, I have to end it anyways. All right, so I'm going to break thread. Should we take a little sweep? Oh, yeah. I think it looks kind of fun with the double row of like pebbles there. So this is, I'm just going to stitch out these 2 blocks and then we're going to go into the panel. I'm going to make it, oh yeah, yep. Just measuring here. Looks like I kind of jumped the gun basting this. I'm just going to take these out. It's kind of a pain in the butt to put a ruler on top of pins, eh? I just wanted to show everybody what I was going to do there, I guess. It's okay. Just a couple pins. I can pop them back in there, no problem, when I'm done here. There we go. Where am I going here? Kind of underestimated how many 9 patches were in here. I do that fairly often when I'm planning a quilt, actually. I kind of look at it and come up with like this gigantic, amazing plan. And I really have to, you know, bring myself back to earth a little bit and be like, wait a second, you know, do I really have 2 weeks to finish this quilt? Do I really have, you know, all the tools to do this? And lots of times I kind of get a little bit ahead of myself with my planning. But that's okay. This one's not too shabby. But sometimes I do get in a little bit over my head. Is anybody else getting over their head with their planning? Or are you more of like a plan it as I go sort of person? Like, do you like that? I know that there's so many different schools of thought on it. You know, whether you should plan your quilts or whether you should, you know, go with the flow and let the quilt speak to you or whatever. I'm definitely a planner. I can't help it. Okay, so instead of going back down this way right now, because I'm thread pathing here, I am going to just go like this. I thought about going up the edges of this one, but decided a different path here. But actually, I don't think I like it. So I was planning to do, as you can see, like I was just going to do that with this guy, but I think I used the wrong ruler. I should have used this one. Okay, so I'm going to take that out. Yep, I'm going to take that out. Unfortunate, but true. It'll only take a second here. Sorry, folks. Yeah, I just grabbed the wrong ruler. So that's what my problem is. I got too many rulers sitting up here. So I'm just cutting the bottom thread and giving a slight tug to the top thread. As I go here. Oops. So I cut that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick out this guy here and get my thread tail back up. There we go. The seam ripper I'm using is this one. It's the Seam Fix. Lots of people don't like it. I do like it. It works really well for me. Not sponsored or anything like that, but it works really well for me. And the reason I like it is because of that nub. I mean, I posted a video about using this particular thread ripper a little while ago, and lots of people were saying things like, that you could use an eraser to do the same idea or anything, because it's this nub here that I like. And you just kind of rub that. I just haven't used an eraser to do that before, but I bet you it would work. Anything a little rubbery would probably work. Something like a little silicone something or other. But this one just comes with a cap that has one on it already, so I like it. I like it a lot. Last little piece here. Every time that you change direction with quilting, there's always the possibility of an issue here. Sorry, my nose is running a bit. Here we go. There we go. Here we are. Okay, all of this is out now. And there's where I need to start. Okay, let's try that again. Another thread. Too many things going on here. Okay, so because I'm restarting, I am making sure that I am catching this tail end here. And I'm stitching back and forwards just a little bit to create some stay stitching there. That makes sense to everyone. Okie dokie. Get my right ruler. Okay, this is the ruler I meant to use. That is much better. Way better. So you can kind of see the line that was right here. Like, it's just a smidge, but for me, like, that kind of makes the difference. If this was my quilt, I probably would not have bothered with that. But because this is a client's quilt, I want to make sure that I'm doing the best job that I think I can do. There it is. See there? You can really see it. The line right there. That line will also just disappear real quick. I'm not too worried about that at all. The only time I really worry about taking stitches out of a quilt is if it's one of those digitally printed panels. Those I try to really plan ahead of time. Like, this one is a digitally printed panel too. So I'm just gonna have to really pay attention and make sure that I'm not gonna mess it up. It's not the end of the world if you have to take stitches out, especially on this particular panel I'm going to be working on, because it's so light. So it's a light colored. And what we're usually worried about are those little tiny white lines. I think Beth Ann Namish did a really big video or review or blog post about the digitally printed and, you know, which needle you can change to or threads you can use. I think she came up with that a ballpoint needle is best to use on them. I encourage you to go look that up if that's something that interests you. I just try not to mess up. No, just kidding. But I don't really do a ton to deal with those panels unless it's a darker panel. So if it is a darker panel, then I will switch it up. Oh, I didn't want to do that yet. I gotta keep going down here. There we go. Last one. There we go. And now I can actually put my pins back in too. Reach. Okay, good. Okay. Now that's all stitched out. I guess I could just go across here. Okay, so now if you can see, I have done a little bit of marking in this panel as well. And I've done the marking around these guys. I was trying to figure out like the best way to stitch these out. And what I came up with is to stitch along this drawn line. So this is my blue line. This doesn't belong to the panel. And I'm going to go around each one of these as I go up. And I think that's going to create another border, first off, and then it's going to look pretty good next to, or it'll look better than trying to weave in and out of these little pebbles or circles or whatever they are. So that's my plan. Let's see if I can get her done. It's going to be really difficult to stay around each one of these circles perfectly, but I'm up for the challenge. Oh, I think I just saw somebody from Manitoba. Hello? Okay. Go around that. Now, here's the decision I have to make. Am I going to use a ruler every single time I go up here? And travel? Yeah, I think I will. Okay, now I knew this wasn't going to be perfect, but it's going to be not too bad. Okay. Okay, this is where that's not going to work. I'm going to have to hold my ruler up here. Okay. Yeah, so if I hold my ruler up here, there we go. What do you think? Think that's going to work out? I think that works out. I think that looks fine. Yeah, all right. My circles aren't perfect, but neither are these ones. I mean, they're pretty perfect, but not. There we go. Oh, my circle game is strong. Okay, what do you think is harder? Do you think feathers are harder or pebbles harder? I think pebbles might be harder. I mean, I'm reasonably good at both. But I think pebbles might be harder. I think it's, well, I mean, unless you're doing like a pebble filler, then pebbles are easier. Because you can really hide a lot of mistakes with a pebble filler. But like this is a little more difficult. Okay. I'm like into the zone now. I'm not sure if holding this ruler up here is helping me or not. Might be. Okay, so this one's going to be a bit difficult because I don't think... Yeah, I don't know how this is going to work out. Okay. So I'm standing like right here, so it's kind of like more difficult to sort of judge my circle from this angle. I don't know. Let me take a look. I mean, they're no better or worse than the other ones, I suppose. Just gonna put this line in. I think the line is helping me. And whether it's helping me stay on track or not, it's just helping me with my visualization. And lots of times that's what the marks can be about, you know, is just visualizing it, you know, knowing where you're supposed to go next. You know, because if I didn't have that line, I'd be like wibble wobbling everywhere, I feel like. But this is helping me at least keep my line straight. Okay, I think this is, oh, I just barely hit the bottom there. That's fine. Okay, cool. All right. I think that did okay. Now, I suppose the next question is if I should do a line along the other side of those circles. And I feel like I probably should. But I'm starting to get a little bit into the territory of like being outside the, not necessarily outside the brief, but like outside of budget. You know, the idea was to maybe not go super duper full on, you know, show quilting sort of custom, but I feel like I'm starting to get a little bit marking in here. I'm just going to go and mark the rest of this because I do think the second line is needed. If anybody's ever watched a Stitched by Susan live, then if you haven't watched a Stitched by Susan live, go check out Stitched by Susan and check out one of her lives. Her lives are amazing. She's got her little sidekick Dave with her, who helps out with commentary and all the good stuff. So I wish I had a Dave, but I don't. All right. Yeah, I'm going to definitely put this line here. And I think it's important that I drew that line too. It's going to help me really keep this where it needs to be. Oh, and you get to see my machine probably mess up here. I was saying that my machine really needs a servicing time, and I can tell because when I stitch to the left here, it's probably going to break its thread. So if you're ever having issues with that, it might be time for a servicing. I actually do have a thread issue checklist. Maybe I'll... Oh, see, I think I saw it. I have a thread issue checklist on my website. I'll try and link it when this live's over. And it's just kind of like a list of things that you should check if your thread's breaking. And that way you can just kind of stay on track a little bit. You can stay on track a little bit and know what you've checked and what you haven't checked, you know, because, oh, see there, I think it just kind of did a little bit of, yeah, there it is. Did that weird thing where it gets all wrapped up around the needle here. Which is not a big deal. But when your machine is really acting up, I'll tell you, holy. I don't think I've ever been so angry than I have been at a sewing machine. I don't know what it is about them, but man, they make me just irate when they don't work properly. So I'm just going to rethread this guy. My closest service isn't too far away. It's about an hour or so. But I do, I forgot to take that. I do live in the mountains, so he's not very far away, but it is over the mountain pass, and the spring weather is just not conducive to always going over there. So I'm just going to wait until some of the melt comes down before I run this machine over the mountain. There we go. And then I'm just going to hook up to what we missed. And there it is. Excellent. Yeah, I think that looks just fine. Adds that kind of interesting border, this weird double border. Mr. Producer, he does help a lot. I know. I agree. I need a Mr. Producer. Oh, well, okay, so now I'm going to go into the body of the quilt here. Finally, how long have we been online? I've been online for over an hour just to get these borders done. Isn't that just the way of it? I totally find I spend more time stitching borders than anything else. All right, so my plan here is basically to stipple the background because we're keeping it kind of like a lighter density quilting today. So I'm going to just be stippling. But when I hit these areas, or sorry, the printed areas, I'm actually going to be stitching around these ABC animals. Here, I'll just show you. Now I thought at one point to outline these with like another outline, but that's just kind of getting a little bit beyond. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stitch around these areas. Like this. Oh, my bobbin ran out. Classic. Just check, make sure those stitches are all right. They're fine. I'll feel underneath the machine too. Yeah, no, they're fine. Now this day, I actually pre-run some bobbins. So that's good. Somebody mentioned that they remembered the name, or they knew the name of my little brush here, but I have already forgotten it, so I'm not quite sure what this is called. This is the brush I use to just clean out any dust. Now I clean my machine, as in I dust it out every single time I change my bobbin, and I also give a little drop of oil right on the hook every time I change my bobbin. I mean, I can go through, goodness, I don't even know, 5 to 10 bobbins a day or something like that. So I make sure to really pay attention to my machine. Oh. Right. So if you have a question that you want to ask me, they come up, but they drop so quickly on the live, like on my screen. So if you want to ask me a specific question or you really need an answer, after this uploads to YouTube, go back and write a comment below the actual video, and then I'll be able to go back and see it, think about the answer, and give you a real good answer back. So let's do that if you have a question. So as I'm stitching around these things, I am making sure like not to make anything much bigger than my fist, because yeah, we don't want to have anything bigger than the fist, because we don't want this batting to wad up. It's a baby quilt, so it's probably going to be used quite a lot. This baby is probably born. I guess the mom went into labor sometime last night, which is awesome that I'm getting this quilt done today. See, this is why I decided not to do an outline. Like I was going to do like a 1/4 inch outline around this, but I think there just isn't quite enough room for that. And as I mentioned before, I also want to stay within a reasonable budget too. And I don't have a plan for each one of these things. I'm going to come back and do those later. I don't have a super plan for each one of these animals or anything. I'm just going with my heart on it. I've done a lot of this kind of outlining on quilts before. A lot of people like to have this done. I mean, how would you not? Like, these panels are really, really adorable. Should I do that here? Yeah, why not? So although I am trying to stick to like the top half of these animals, because like when I roll up the quilt, I'll come back and, oh, I'm not in the right spot. I'll come back and fill in some of this. I'm trying to leave some spaces just so I don't back myself into too much of a corner. I probably will anyhow, but that's okay. Dinosaur! This is really cute. So I'm just adding in like a couple little details that I think might be kind of cute on these things. And again, like on this D, I'm going to come back and put that line in there too. Outlining definitely takes some practice too. I don't think I've said anything that doesn't take quite a lot of practice. Long arm takes practice, guys. And that is the most like real like advice I can give anybody, is it just does. It takes practice. Be nice. It took me 2 years to get good enough to accept a client quilt. Honestly, it just really did. Okay, so now I'm at a spot where I'm actually going to roll the quilt. And I think I'm also going to baste here. Originally, I was going to switch thread colors and continue this down. And that's my normal process. I don't think I'm being very clear. Okay, so my normal process would be to continue this feather down the side. Now I am stitching this in a blue thread and this in a white thread, but I really want to get some more of this body done. So I'm going to baste this like I did on the other side and come back when the quilt's complete and do the feather all in one big long go. That just makes more sense to me right now, because I'm really enjoying what I'm doing with the little animals. So I'm just going to throw some pins in this side as well. And as I was saying before, I'm staying parallel to my bars so that nothing gets twisted or anything. All right, and now I'm going to roll my machine. There's going to be a lot of stops and starts anyways, because I'm going to have to do so much over here, but for now, this is my plan. All right, now I'm just going to straighten everything. I do have to take this out. I had to roll a little bit further than I thought I would have to. Custom quilting takes the time. Okay, so pick up all these rulers. G is for giraffe. Okay, and I'm just smoothing out my batting and my quilt top. There we go. Brenda is an awesome quilter. She always gives me enough backing. Thank you so much, Brenda. You make my life so much easier. Okay, take my time here. Really make sure this is nice and as straight as I can get it to be. I always like to baste from bottom to top. Helps me keep things square. And I also always use my ruler. Go. So now I can put my clamps on, or my clamps on now. So I baste first and then clamp afterwards. And I do have quite a bit of extra. Like Brenda always gives me lots of batting, but I always make sure to like give it a little tug, you know, make sure that it's nice and flat right here. Sometimes you can really get, if you have access, you can get like a lot of extra, you know, fabric that's kind of like flopping around. So I give it a little pull, make sure that it's going up onto the bar as well, just to help keep everything flat. And then I do use the red snapper system. I don't always use these ones, but this quilt today seems to be working. There's no rolled edges or anything like that. I don't really need this today either, but there it is. Red snappers can be kind of a pain in the butt for some folks, I know that, but they seem to work well for me. Plus, I mean, most people really only have enough funds to really invest in one type of system, whether it be the magnets or the red snappers. Okay, go up here. Somebody mentioned that they had used the magnets the other day, and it would be interesting to give them a try, but not really in the boat today. Okay. Get my edge in there. Sometimes it helps to run a pin or a scissor or something down the edge of that just to get that little edge in there. So I just used a pin. Lots of times I'll use my snips, but anything kind of pointy works really well to get that edge in there if you're struggling. All right. So we've made it to here. Let's see. Yep. I'm just checking to make sure that I'm going to be able to reach everything. I kind of went down a little further over here. That's okay. I'm just going to pick a random spot to start. Doesn't really matter too much here. I'm just going to, when you're starting on a spot like this with a stipple, just a little quick note, just start with just a little curve, like right away, because it kind of looks a little bit more natural instead of like coming straight out and like starting your stipple. Just kind of do a little curve up or down, and it'll look just a little bit more intentional. I love stipple. I know lots of people really dislike it, but I personally think it's a great design. It's one of my favorites, for sure. So, today I think I'm going to finish this sort of across here. So I'm going to finish going through here, and then I think I might end the live, guys. Just because I've been on for so long, I don't know. Okay. Let me get the elephant's butt in here, hey? Alright, there we go. These are cute. These animals are adorable. There we go. Yeah, that looks great. And now I'm just kind of weaving my way around, following the lines. And I'm just kind of making up some extra lines in these animals just to either add the dimension to it. I missed his nose. It's pretty close. That'll work. How much space? I'm just checking to see how much space I have below me, because I can't really go up. But I'm going to keep this pretty close to him so that I leave space to come through here later on. So I am thinking about thread path a little bit when it comes to that, eh? Oops. I kind of cut myself off there. Goodness sakes. I'll just travel back. Not a big deal. Nobody will know. Brenda, if you're watching, don't look at that spot, all right? Giraffe. Yeah, so there's no real rhyme or reason to this. I'm just following the outlines. I think it'll be easier just to head back this way. I'm making sure not to maybe travel back more than twice, if I can help it, you know? There's like, this is not a scientific sort of thing here. So I'm just kind of doing the best I can. Panels always offer us such challenges as long armors, eh? I don't know if you guys stitch a lot of panels, but they definitely do offer challenges. But at least by having a stipple, I can kind of wobble my way around to my next spot. And I mean, the nice thing about this particular panel too is it's kind of like, oh, what's that called? Not paint by number, like watercolor sort of style. And because it's watercolor sort of style, I don't mind going off the lines just a little bit. You know, it's not that big of a deal. It kind of suits the style that we're already working in. Where'd that ruler go? I'll get the straight lines in there when I need them. Watch this here. Sneaky, sneaky. Okay, so I'm just going to draw my line in here. I should have drawn these lines before, but I just wasn't positive I was going to need them, so I didn't. I try and do all my marking before I mount a quilt usually. And the reason I do that is because I'm working on something that isn't hard, you know, like everything is kind of shifting. And that can be quite troublesome if you're trying to draw straight, perfect lines for certain things. Here, I'm not super worried about it. But if it was, you know, like perfect lines that need to be spaced or perfectly perpendicular or something like that, it would definitely offer up a bigger challenge for sure. Okay. Almost. One more. Yoo-hoo! All right, let's go take a quick look here. Yeah, looks all right, eh? I think that's really cute for a baby quilt. And I really like that I'm outlining all of these things. You know, the lines aren't running through them. So I think it was a really good choice. I am going to come back and fill these in right now. I'm going to do it now so I don't forget, because that is definitely something that I'll forget to do. And I wouldn't, but it's about my fist size. It's just a little too big. So I'll get those in while I'm still here. Okey-dokey. Yeah, I think it was a really good choice of Brenda's to custom quilt this. I think it looks really cute. And you have to remember, like, this is just regular 80-20 batting. The reason why you're seeing so much relief is because of the way I have the lighting set up in this room. That's all. See this D, it's right on the verge of being too big. And I think it'll look just a little better with this stitched in. Okey-dokey. Snip. There, that looks good. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy with this. And here, I'm going to show you with just the light on. Whoa, hi. Whoops. Okay, I'm just going to turn this on with the light on. See how different it looks? It looks good, for sure, but it's not as obvious with all the lights off with the side light from this window. All right. So I think I'm actually going to end the live right now because this is going to get very repetitive very quickly. And there's going to be a lot of starts and stops. So I will make sure to post in the community tab on the YouTube page a picture of this quilt when I'm all finished up, okay? So thanks so much for watching. And if you have a question that you really want me to answer, make sure to put it on the video once it uploads. And also, if you want to buy me a coffee, there is a link in the description as well. Thanks so much for watching. Okay, bye.